2024. My name is Mike Hittner. I'm chairperson, and to my left is Bill Parker, member, and Ryan Austin is on the, well, he's not on the video, but he's on a voice anyway, and I think Kyle is also there too. And Elizabeth is with us, and Jeff Pennico. How do you pronounce it, Jeff? Penscover? Penscover. Dennis is here as usual. Dennis Pollock. And who's our gentleman down there? Kevin Fang. Oh yeah, Kevin. I met you, Kevin. Yeah, it's the same meeting here, but for a different committee, whatever. So, okay, thank you. Thanks for everybody for attending. Item 1 on the agenda is approval of the report from the April 18th, 2024 Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Any questions or comments on those meeting minutes as presented? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Made by Bill. I'll second that motion to approve the minutes as presented. Any questions or comments on those meeting minutes? Otherwise, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We got on our agenda today selection of a consultant for the intensive survey of historical and cultural resources. What I would like, Elizabeth or Kyle, is I'd like you to go through each of these people, and you had a chart on how you gauge them or how you found them to be, and I'd like to go through and put it in. And Pat Kazicki is joining us here. She's our alternate, but we're going to put her right to work right away, Pat. So come on up. Oh, you can sit over by Elizabeth. It doesn't matter where you sit. Yeah. So thanks for coming, Pat. Yeah. So Elizabeth or Kyle, can you go through that kind of graph you had and how you judged these three applicants, and can we go through that? Because I don't really know exactly how all that relates to them, so maybe either you, Elizabeth, or Kyle, whoever feels comfortable doing that, just go through each of them individually. I think that would be informational for all of us members.
So I'll chime in first. Thanks, Chairman. The memo is pretty self-explanatory in terms of the process that's got us here. The memo goes on further to state the factors that were considered or the scoring criteria. It starts off with work approach at being 25 points, timeline at being 20, timeline and funding at being 25, the report formatting at 10, and then the team and experience at 40. So point totals were out of 100. I'll preface also that we only had 3 responses. When the deadline occurred, I think we had some initial interest of several more, and then for whatever reason only ended up with 3, which is okay, as both Liz and myself feel as though we have 2 strong candidates here. I think the one that did not score as well as me and Liz was NHPA Consultants.
Harvard, Illinois.
What's that?
The one from Harvard, Illinois.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
When we look at the criteria, we felt as though that they lacked experience when it specifically came to intensive surveys for communities, and obviously the team was just made up of the 2 of them. So they did not score very good with team and experience. I think their work approach could have been clarified a little bit more in a little more detail there as well. I believe they were at the full $35,000 and were utilizing the full timeline as well. So they scored the lowest for both me and Liz can elaborate further if she'd like.
What number would you give them? What number would you give them, Kyle? What number did you give them? Like 80 or something? I don't have
my scoring sheet. Yeah, I don't have my scoring sheet in front of me, but I think it was 78.
78
that they got. The other 2 were in the 90s, and only a few points separated the other 2. So moving on to Legacy and UW Milwaukee. Again, it's their Office of Architecture or Archaeological Research Laboratory Center. So it's not. I'll preface. It's not students doing it. They have a separate office just under the UW Milwaukee umbrella. And they've been doing surveys for quite a while in assistant communities. But they both scored very, very well in both their work approach, their team, the experience they have. I think there was a slight edge to UW Milwaukee in terms of experience solely related to community-intensive surveys. I think Legacy was more focused and had more experience on other architectural and archaeological and historic research, less about, and more so with design, I think was their background, given they're an architecture firm. But I think primarily what separated the two, because they both scored very well in the 90s, was the timeline and funding. So at least when I graded them, gave UW Milwaukee a few more points because they had the quickest timeline in, I believe, 12 months, or maybe even a little less. And then they were under the $35,000 at about $33,000. So they did score a little bit better. And I think that, along with what I thought was a little bit better experience with community surveys, was enough of edge to push them past Legacy. Liz was the same way, I believe, and so that's our recommendation, is to recommend UW Milwaukee. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any more questions that you may have about any of the responses.
Kyle, Mike Hittner here. On the UW Milwaukee one, they had, I think it was $33,130. Now, we were allotted by the state historical or whatever, $35,000. Can we keep the difference and put it in our budget, so for like training or something like that, or does that have to go back?
Yes, we can. If we have leftover budget, we can submit staff time and staff assistance as part of that. So I think that would be our intent moving forward, was to be able to utilize the full $35,000 allocation. So I think moving on, when we enter into a contract, if it's with UW Milwaukee, Liz and I will both start charting our time and our involvement, so that we can, yes, submit those for reimbursement also.
Okay. Bill, you have any questions?
Well, my big question was already answered with UW Milwaukee.
Wasn't students, huh?
Was the student question, but that's already been answered by Kyle and by Liz, so.
Sure. Pat, do you have any questions on anything that you've heard so far? No? Okay. Ryan, do you have any questions? Ryan?
No, no question.
Okay. Anybody else? Kyle, you want to say anything else, or Liz? Or should we entertain a...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just want to note, sorry, just before action, that the next step, because this is a reimbursement grant, is to go to Property and Finance City Committee just for approval of allocating temporary dollars to fund this, and then obviously be reimbursed by the state. So this will go to Property and Finance Committee next Tuesday, and then the third Tuesday of July. Both recommendations from Historic Preservation and Property and Finance will be before the Common Council for final action. Thereafter, I would expect us to possibly have a contract executed by the end of July or early August.
Yeah, I saw that UWM was also said they could probably be done by the end of May or first part of June, which was a couple months earlier than the other one. So that's good. I think earlier is probably better, because we could have some public hearings and that sort of thing. Dennis, you got any questions that you've seen this? You're on the council and you're going to have to vote on this, but have you seen anything here that draws your interest or don't like?
I don't have any questions right now, Mike. Are you ready to make any kind of decision tonight?
I think we will make a decision tonight, yes, to get the process going so that it can go through the council this coming, would probably be this coming month, won't it? I don't think you got any more meetings in June, so it'll be July, so. Yeah, Jeff, you have any questions or?
I have no questions.
Okay. Then I, as the chair, will entertain a motion to approve UWM for the contract for the intensive survey of historical and cultural resources in Wisconsin Rapids.
second that motion.
So it's moved by me, Mike Hittner, seconded by Bill Parker, to approve UWM as our contractors for consultant for the intensive survey of historic and cultural resources, which will go to finance and budget and then on to the council in July. Any questions or comments? I'll take a roll call since Ryan is on air here. Ryan, how do you vote?
Aye, yes.
Okay, Bill?
Aye, yes.
Pat?
Aye, yes.
Myself, I'll vote aye, so motion carried unanimously. 4 ayes and no nays, so that item is done and it goes on now to the finance and budget and the council. Any commissioner updates, Liz or Kyle? No. Next meeting date?
I have
Go
I have
ahead.
nothing other than just want to note that we will likely keep the Historic Preservation Commission informed if it's approved by the committee first. I'll send an email out, and then if it ultimately gets approved by council, I'll send an email. If we have a draft contract, we'll keep committee and commission involved, or at least notified moving forward.
Okay, are you looking at, Elizabeth, maybe a meeting in August or September, something like that? We talked about not meeting maybe every other month or as often as needed. We don't have to meet just to meet, so. It will save the city budget a lot of money by not meeting.
Yeah, I think the thought was to probably meet in August or September.
Okay,
By that time, the contract, should be drafted, and we can maybe touch base with the consultant, or at least kind of kick the project off in August or September.
yeah, and it's possible because we've got Skype or whatever here, we could also meet with them and they could be on, and they could just stay put in Milwaukee and we could talk to them if we have questions or anything. I noticed on their survey that they're going to do it, their what they call windshield survey, in October, November, because the leaves are off the trees and they can see the properties better. So I think that's when most of it's going to happen. So we have
Correct.
no other business, Kyle, right?
Nothing from us.
Okay, so Elizabeth, nothing? So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes, Dennis?
I see that you were scheduled for August 29th for a meeting.
Yeah, I guess that would be
That-
okay, as long as we got some or something to do. I mean, we could, otherwise we could put it off, so. But,
Yeah, that sounds correct, but we will keep the commission informed. If, for example, there's something in September, we may push that off to September, or vice versa. We might act on it if there's something in August. So we'll keep that meeting date, and as it draws near, we will adjust accordingly.
okay. 6 p.m. I would imagine. I think that works best. Bill works in Stevens Point, and for him to get here, if the train doesn't stop him or something. 5:30 he can make it, but he'd be coming in right at the time. So 6 o'clock is good. So we have a motion and a second.
Sounds good?
Pardon?
I just said sounds good.
Okay. We have a motion and a Bill second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.